Hello, I'm Dr. Clint Sexton, and today I want to talk about inflammation. We've all heard of inflammation. We all know that it's bad for us, but what is it? How do we get it, and what causes it? So let's just run through this here, and I want to keep this simple so you get a really good understanding of what it is and what initiates this process in the body. So let's just start with the word inflammation. That comes from Latin, which basically means to set on fire. So when you think of inflammation in the body, just imagine that your body is on fire. Now that's kind of a horrible picture to imagine, but that's really where this comes from. And so when we're talking about inflammation and how it starts in the body, inflammation is a result, okay? It's a process that the body goes through in response to damage to cells and tissues. So inflammation really isn't a bad thing. We need inflammation as part of the natural healing process. So when inflammation is good, this is what happens. So we have some irritation, some damage to some tissues. This body inflammation, this body fire comes in, cleans up all the debris, gets rid of all the damaged cells, and clears the way for new healthy cells to come in and replace those that were damaged. And then the inflammation should stop, or the fire should go out. So that's what I call healthy inflammation. Then there's chronic inflammation. And what's happening here is that we're having damage to cells and the inflammation begins, all right, but then it just continues. It's an ongoing process, which means something is still causing damage to the cells. And so this inflammatory response keeps going, which means the fire keeps going and keeps burning, and that in itself can become a source of cell damage. And so we get this chronic ongoing process of this fire in the body, and it's damaging your cells, it's damaging your tissues, and it's affecting every system in your body. Okay, the one thing that is common to all chronic illnesses is chronic inflammation. It's this ongoing inflammatory process in the body. So what creates this fire in the body? What creates inflammation? There are many different types of chemicals that your body produces in order to create this body fire. So things like histamine, even serotonin, things called lymphokines. We can go on and on. That's not what's important. There's many different chemicals that ultimately result in the inflammatory response. So this is the process. You have damage to your cells. The body initiates an inflammatory response. It builds this fire to clean up the mess and initiate a healing process. That's when things are working well. When that cellular damage keeps occurring and that inflammatory response continues to burn, then we have chronic inflammation, then we get even more damage to tissues. I like to liken inflammation to an event in nature. So let's say you have a forest that has grown and it has overgrown, and you have dead trees and some have fallen down, and you've got some that are sick. And so a fire comes through and it burns out the old and the sick, and it makes way for new trees and new plant life. It provides opening and space for them to come in and regenerate the forest. So that would be an example of a nice controlled fire or inflammation in the body, you might say. Now, if that same forest caught on fire every year, or that fire never stopped, well, then that would be damaging, obviously, to the forest itself, which is what happens in our bodies. It's this ongoing fire. You never get to regenerate. So that explains what inflammation is and what it's trying to do, but the underlying issue with inflammation is that you have something going on that's causing the damage to the cells in the first place. So this could be lots of different things. This could be the result of infections. This could be gut imbalances with bacteria or yeast. It could be due to toxins. It could be dietary factors. It could be lack of various nutrients. So there's many things that can ultimately lead to this cellular damage, which then leads to inflammation, but that would be the underlying factor. First step, you have damage to the cells. Second step, inflammation comes in, and if it works well, it cleans up the mess, allows healing to occur, or whatever first started that cell damage keeps going and the inflammation keeps going, and that leads to chronic illnesses. So if you'd like some more details on some of the chemicals involved and how this can affect your health, I've indicated in the blog here a lot of symptoms and problems that people have and how inflammation plays a role with that. I hope you found this helpful, and hopefully this took a subject that could be quite complicated, and hopefully you have a good grasp of what's going on with inflammation now. Thank you.